திருக்கோயில் இல்லாத திரியில் ஊரும் திருவெண்ணீர் அணியாத திரியில் ஊரும் பருக்கோடி பத்திமையால் பாடாவூரும் பாங்கினோடு பல தளிகள் இல்லா ஊரும் விருப்போடு வெண்சங்கம் ஊத ஊரும் விதானமும் வெண்கொடியும் இல்லா ஊரும் அருப்போடு மலர் பறித்திட்டு உண்ணா ஊரும் அவையெல்லாம் ஊரல்ல, அவையெல்லாம் அடவி காடே. தத்தன
Shri Matre Namaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We'll be starting the session on the science of the temple architecture, from unmanifested to manifested. Today's session will be led by Vilasaya. As many of us know, Vilasaya has been to the temple and he's been doing a lot of puja services, and you can see him leading many of the temple pujas and homas on Saturdays and during various festivals. He also manages the temple's media related needs and is also an active member with the temple bhajan group. So today's session, along with him, Sri Harsha Mupparaju Amma will also be participating and presenting a few slides. She also is an active volunteer at the Sri Vidya Temple, and she helps in coordinating with some other learning sessions that we've been bringing forward to. And some of the slides the slides she would be presenting were actually done by another volunteer, Aparna Shekaramma. She's not present today, but she actually helped in making some of the slides. And she's also an active member with the adult learning session. Without taking more time, we will start the session now. Sri Harshamma and Vilasaya, please take over.
Thank you, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Prajnanam Brahmayimatma Brahmatattvasim Brahmasmi Mamsa Shivasoham Mamsa Sakafrem Sakshamalaram Samsa Kshmalam Sarupanirupane Tavesu Guruve Sri Jnanambika Sameda Sri Chaitanya Nandanata Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujam Tarpiyami Namaha. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Namaskaram. Anupama, she said, I'm leading. I don't know what leading means. It's just a presentation of what we have learned for past few months on this topic. It is a vast ocean. I don't believe it can be, I don't think it can justify with just a few slides. I think I lived this life with architecture. Whatever learned, that's what we're trying to present. And the science, I think, it's much more than science. It's really, when you start dwelling into this architecture, what Ayya has done for us, you will be minding, and what he's thinking for us for future, it is really amazing. Wonderful science. And what the presentation, what you're doing today, if you have learned something from this, and if you understood something, it's our Guru's grace. Because of him, our Guru Mandala, we are learning something. We learn something. If we have made any mistake, if you think there are any mistakes, please that responsibility with us, me, and whoever have done this. That's a mistake we have done. If we have learned something from this experience, this is our Guru's grace. That's what I want to start with. Harshama, you want to say anything before we continue?
Go ahead, Aya.
So the first and foremost thing, I think, entire this topic was the experience was why we are building granite temple. That is the whole the question I think we were asking. Then the interest was that, okay, why granite temple? Why this kind of temple? Why big temple? Why in this part of the world? That is the whole question. I think questions coming like, why you have so many temples still? Why this temple we need here? Those are the fundamental questions started answering, and that's how the whole research started. And the first and foremost, we want to understand why is temple important in Sanatana Dharma. Next slide, please. First slide. Can you go forward? So please, the first one. So this is the interesting thing I got from one of the book we are reading. That I think this interesting book was that S.K. Ramchandra I think the first thing was that in our entire yugas, the first yuga, Satya Yuga, there were no temples. God was there amongst us. That time he did not need temple at all. So we could just walk out and just say hi to him, and then that's how you could interact with God. Because it's Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga. And the next comes the Treta Yuga, where the virtues are diminishing. And God did appear in own normal forms, but he could interact and talk to virtuous folks, but who are wanted, they could see iconic forms. Still, he could approach divinities with not a big deal of a problem. The third is Dharma Yuga. This is where still virtues were taking a little hit, and then virtues and vice became more of together. And this is where we could have started seeing temples in remote forests. And then if you wanted, you could go and approach, but still it is not so difficult. You could still approach in the Dharma Yuga and the gods. And real things comes in Kali Yuga, where this is where now our vices become more than our virtues. And if our bhakti is has more meaning than mukti. So now this is where the temple whole concept of temple can picture, and the bhakti marga, and having temples, going to temples, approaching and worshipping, that started having more values and is more need in this. This is how the whole significance of temples in life comes to picture. And Kali Yuga, as you see more and more that is more important that we have our temples. Next slides, please. So the question everybody keeps asking us. So why we have temples? God is everywhere. Why you have temples? So I think this is interesting from our sages and seers and saints have a question. One of the Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, somebody asked him, so why God saved it? He said, okay, similar, you have a cow, okay, cow gives milk. So why don't you just tap somewhere and start making milk? Is it possible? So you need to get only from other to get the milk. So the essence of the whole divinity, everything is there in the temples. And that's the whole concept he was trying to push in, that you can't get milk from everywhere and from the cow. You have to get the udder. That's where you get the essence of the milk comes out. And similarly, go to Swami Vivekananda. There is a great story that someone comes and asks him. So again, same question, God is everywhere. So why need to go to temples? I said, okay, come back in the evening, I'll let you know the answer. So I think, so probably he designed that whole, the experiment, the whole thing's a situation for him. The person was asked a question. And when the person came back in the evening, he was quite late for the whatever the time he asked for. So then he asked Swami Vivekananda, asked him why you were late. Said, I had a welcoming, my tire got punctured, so I had to use air compressor to push the air. They said, okay, so why couldn't you use air from everywhere? So why had to use a compressor for that purpose? They said, like a same concept. When you go to the temple, you get that the energy, concentrated energy source. That's what the whole temple is. It's not just like you have air everywhere, just you can pump air from the environment onto your air tires. That's how good. So that's how he was trying to drive a point where there is a need to go to temple. It is not just you go to Kashi, you go to Tirupati, you go to the moment you step in, that the amount of the seers and sages, the saints have done thousands of years. That energy, you need that. So similarly, you also need from the temples. So next film. Same thing, our Paramacharya said, Bhakti alone can give you capacity to put up the sorrows. But where do you get this? Have that, you can experience that Bhakti. You have to go to temples. And, he explains beautifully, like we can't go here in this slides. He talks about why you have to do Panchopachara, Shodashopachara. It's a great concept that, you give them upacharas like 5 upacharas, 14 upacharas, 64 upacharas. The way you treat, how you want to treat yourself, a king or ordinary person. So that's all the whole thing. Is a beautiful explanation on why you need to do different kind of upacharas. But the essence he's saying is that you need temple to experience that, show that kind of bhakti and have that environment where you can get your divinity into yourself, energize yourself. That's the whole concept of the temple. So we have great saints, scriptures, all have said we need to go to temple. We have temples. We need that. So please, next one. Now the purpose of the temple's construction. Again, we need why need temple. Now we say temple's construction. Sri Harsha, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, Vilasaya, for a wonderful introduction to the topic. Let's continue. Okay. What is the purpose of the temple? So if we look at traditionally, what were temples used for? They served as a place to worship, as a place where we can learn Vedic chanting, or to depict art, like various forms of dance, the sculptures on the temple architecture, and music to sing songs, etc. They were also used as courts of law. And these days, being in the West, we can also add, it is one way to teach our kids, the next generation, about our culture and traditions. Is that it? Or we can also say that during a festival celebration, people come together, so that will also inculcate a concept of communalism among people. So there should be more to it, right? So what is the purpose of a temple? So now from the stories that Vilasaya just shared, and also let me quote the great saint Appar. He's one of the 9ers. You must have heard the verse at the beginning of the session. So what did he say in that? So let me give a brief summary of what he said in that verse. He said, where the town is without a temple and without the grace of goddess of prosperity, and where the inhabitants of the town do not have the sense of duty to offer a service to the poor, or where the forehead of its inhabitants doesn't bear the mark of sacred ash, or where the inhabitants fail to sing the songs in the praise of God, or where the inhabitants are used to eating food without offering it first to God. So such town is unworthy of living, and it is considered as a wilderness, as a forest where only wild beings are present. So why did he say that? So what is a temple? Again, learning from the stories that Vilasaya shared, Paramacharya, he said that bhakti is the only way to overcome the sorrows, and temple provides such a place to immerse yourself in that bhakti. Even again, say that, yeah, God is present everywhere. Yeah, we know. But in order to feel that presence, we need a way, a channel. In order to experience the divine's presence and also to communicate, we need a way. So what gives me such a way? A temple. So how is a temple different from the murti that is installed at a home? So temple, what happens behind this? Or how is a temple different from the murti that we install at home? To learn all of this, so let's look more into this topic. So what is a temple now? Temple is a doorway to reach the divinity. Let's put it that way. So again, a temple is a center of concentrated positive energies, like many of our great saints said before. And that energy and the positive atmosphere within the temple will actually influence a person who's visiting the temple to tend towards that positivity. So he will develop that positivity within him and achieve more in his life. What does achieving more in the life means? So what is the life about? So in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said that Paropakarardham idam shariram. So what does that mean? That means our body, like this human birth, is to perform service to others. So again, this is what Appar also said in that. So where the inhabitants do not have a sense of duty to render service to the poor, so that town is unworthy of living. And temples do provide such a way to do that service. So, okay, now we know that temple is a doorway to reach divinity, the positive energy that is available there for us to feel and to learn everything. So how? What is behind this? So what is needed to construct a temple, rather? Is it just the building materials, some plan and permits from the city? Is it just that? No. There is a whole lot of decision-making, science involved for the construction. The way or the place where the murti is installed, or the way where the Bali Mandapam or the Dwajastambam is constructed, it actually relates to the human body. So all those details we will be learning in the next section. And Vilasaya did a lot of work on this. So he'll continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Amma. It was a great. I think what we said so far was that the temple, why we need a temple, and what is the purpose of temple. That's what we learned so far. Now I think we'll get into the science of temple architecture. So we'll specifically deal with Dravidian architecture. There are, as we learn, as we go through, there are, as I said in the beginning, it's a lifelong learning. As I think Aya has lived through this entire life to the science of entire architecture. I think I said we cannot do service with just few slides, but I think we will make an attempt so that we understand what really and Aya has striving. I mean, I think this is one other purpose. I think he's trying to us to understand why he's building for us. I think that's what I'd like to make sure that we understand through the next few of whatever the slides we made. The first and foremost, again, is the science, the precise science. As we go through different documents, different Agama Shastras, Upanishads, you'll know the temple is not just a building, it is entire science behind the architecture. And also, as Harsha was mentioning, you will see that just is not a structure we built with either some granite or some cement or anything. And why we need the kind of building structure Aya's building is for us. So the science and whole architecture of our temple is based on agamas, and they're basically collections of tantric literature and scriptures. They're in Tamil and in Sanskrit. And if you Adi Shankaracharya, Jagadguru, he has done a great service for all of us. And beginning of this century, 6th century, during the first 6th century, Hinduism was really in decline. There was, mostly Vamacharya was in most of the practice, and people are losing faith in the Hinduism, and Buddhism and Jainism also not in good shape, although they're in more prevalent than Hinduism. During this time, Adi Shankara established 6 Shanmathas. It's called Shanmathas, 6 paths of different worship. We call Shaiva. We have Ganapatya, Shaiva, Kumara, the Surya, and like that 6 agamas, 6 different styles of Shanmathas he established. And when he did that, the agamas got stable. Basically, we had 6 different systems, and agamas also got stabilized and led to the establishment of agamas. And we said there's said to be in a Shaiva, there are 28 agamas, and Kamika and Karanagama and Pancharatna and Vaikhasanasana, Vaishnava. This is for Vaishnava asana. So although there are 28 agamas, there are sub-agamas, and in these agamas do have the stipulations and the methods of construction of temples. The interesting information I found out what exactly agama is agaram. Basically, if you see any text of any Vedas, Upanishad, you will see thus spoke Shiva. Shiva says, Uma listens, and Uma actually helps all the Shishya, all the Upasakas to, spread the knowledge. That's what happens. So Agama, Agaram, spiritual truth for short part was Shiva, Gadam, assimilated Uma, and Matam. That's what Matam, 6 Matam, propagated by the good people through Shiva Agamas. This is what Agamas is. And this is one beautiful explanation I found what Agamas is all about. It literally means that what is come down. So in fact, if you look at the Agamas, it describes the cosmology, epistemology, philosophical doctrine, perception, meditation practices, 4 kinds of yoga, mantras, temple construction, deity worship. All these are in Agamas. Basically, there are 4 sections: Charya, Kriya, Yoga, Jnana. And Kriya Pada is the one which does the padas, the sections of padas. Kriya Pada is the one really dwells actually in the methods of constructions and all that. And but Charya is the first pada, and yoga, the yoga and Jnana Pada, the yogas. Agamas also mean Jnana Mokshalaya, basically enables through Jnana and getting moksha and ultimately becoming one with Laya. So basically a liberation by annihilating carnal desire through wisdom. Basically, this is what it means. So what you're doing is through Agamas, you're merging one back with where you come from. So again, what is the relations of Agamas of Vedas? These like it's like a relation between Atma and Paramatma. If Vedas are compared with the trunk of the tree, Agamas would consider branches are filled with green foliage. Both Vedas and Agamas believed to be related texts. Shiva, basically it's what it's saying is Veda are breath of Shiva, while Shivagamas are the form of the words. So ultimately what it is it has come from Shiva. And everything what you have seen, agamas, has come from, that has come from. And that gives us the entire the science and architecture of to build the temples. So this is what I think interesting essence from Tirumandira Tirumalar. It says ultimately God is one. That's what it means. So, I think if I was there, I would have beautifully explained this, the entire things. We are unable to do it. But what he understood, essence of this is that ultimately the God is one. That's what we need to get. So through what you understand from architecture, you'll say, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatma, Brahma Tattvamasya, Brahmasmi. You go from top, Prajnanam Brahma, it is one Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, Tattvamasya, Brahmasmi. Basically, you're saying it's a beautiful cycle from where you come from Prajnanam to realizing you are that ultimately. That's the whole it is. God is one. You are that. So that's what explanation entire thing is. So hopefully when we get him, we'll ask him to get this thing and explain much better. So this is what so move forward. So I'm just taught this thing about the unmanifested to manifested. So if you look at the entire cosmos, what it is, so vast, you don't know what it is. So it's what it was before, you don't even know. It was like a nishabda, space. It was nothing, from nothing came from everything. That's what the whole thing is. So that's what you're trying to capture, from cosmos from unmanifested to manifested. How do you capture that? That's all the whole thing temple is all about. So that's how the come downs from unmanifested to manifested. And if this is what in Bhagavad Gita. So there was again going back to the why we need temple. This is one of the great from Krishna. If man worship, devotes, meditates to manifested form of the wholeness of infinity, and sees the truth of its manifestation, he surpasses the confusion of never-ending cycles. So basically, what he's saying is that if you worship through the manifested form, you ultimately reach that unmanifested. That's what he's saying in Bhagavad Gita. So he's saying it brings ultimate peace, harmony in man's life, but how can be achieved in physical world? That's all ultimately through manifested form. And Brahad Samhita and Stapeta Veda give solution to the temple, which should act a macrocosm of cosmos. It should be the whole temple should be the bridge of your manifested to unmanifested manifested. And this is where entire thing comes in. Vastu Purusha Mandala. This is where you see the connection. How are you? It's beautifully, you read the Purusha Suktam. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sarpada. You'll see entire thing is cosmos, from cosmos to your manifestation. So entire temple, this is a beautiful thing I really learned, I think it's a revelation for us, is that it is ultimately a mandala. Vastu Purusha Mandala is called. Entire cosmic being upon which the temple is built, with whom his temple rests. Basically think the Vastu Purusha. Temple is situated in him, comes from him, and is a manifestation of him. The Vastu Purusha Mandala is both the body of cosmic being and bodily device by which those who have requisite knowledge to attain the best result in the temple building. Basically, you capture that as entire essence of a cosmos through Vastu Purusha. And we know the mandala, we know what it is, the yantra. So when you see, ultimately you see in every temple, in our temple, you have underneath Devi, Shri Chakra. So that's one kind of the main, here we Vastu Purusha Mandala, but I think yantra concept we know very well. Ultimately, it is as a mandala. Under that, we capture through mandala, and that's what we give a form to unmanifested, to manifested. So if you start seeing the square is fundamentally is a fundamental to any temple. A square, a small square. So that's why you see, as you see, go through different our presentation, you'll see that everything starts from square, and then you'll see square, and that expands, and that is the cosmos. If you look at the square, what is square is? It's a structure which has the four sides. It has a definite form, but what is in the middle? In the middle, is actually formless. It radiates that energy. That's a window you can think of. You can think of anything in between. That is what the cosmos is, and it's spreading it out. And as spread it out, you make you give a boundary to a square. And the square, you'll see, as you see, I'll explain you how the temple is built from the square concept. So let's go to square is a sacred architecture. It's a considered essential perfect. It's a perfect form. The expanding energy shapes a circle from the center. You can see that it can actually, when you draw a circle, it forms a perfect circle, and it's established in shape of form. The circle and curve belong to life in its growth and moment. The square is a mark of water because it has a boundary. It's a mark of water. The finality of expanding life's form and perfection beyond life and death. From the square, all the requisite form can be derived. It can derive triangle, hexagon, octagon, circle, and that's what we've seen. And the architect called square the Purusha Vastu Purusha Mandala. If we understand this concept, the Vastu Purusha is the cosmic being has been captured within that whole square, and they're expanding through that, and that coming, please. It becomes that we now understood what the entire our architecture is. And again, going back to this, I think I just wanted to make sure that we all have the concept. So I kept on. There's more and more same of Vastu Purusha Mandala, but I think it's good that we understand this. That it has three important components. The mandala means it can be a circle. Purusha is the universal essence. You see most of you see Sahasrashisha Purusha in that, even also Lalita Sahasrama, when in the first explain same thing. Also, it's not 1,000, it is beings. So then comes Vastu is a dwelling structure. Basically, you're being the entire cosmic being within the structure. That's what you're doing here. The circle of the mandala subscribes circle. So if we look and draw a circle, it subscribe the square. The square is kind of divine, is a perfection, is a symbolic product of knowledge of human thought, while circle is considered earthly. See, now you see two things. One is the circle, other one is now you have a Chandra, you have Surya, and everything within that. You can enclose it. So the design now, we're starting from the square. Now I think we'll go slowly expand. So everything within our design, our Hindu Sanatana Dharma architecture is symmetrical. It's so beautiful. It's concentrical, it's layered, self-repeating. And we talk about Euclidean algorithm fractal. It existed thousands of years ago. They knew exactly what it all about. And when you put together all the symmetric around together, you knew they can make a solid and perfect, and also very the structure which can withstand the thousands of years of elements. That's what the whole thought was. When you think about fractal geometry, that's what it's all about. So building all different things with the symmetrical. So then, even though it's a square, then when you put different square, you'll see it. It becomes a beautiful architecture, but at the same time, it is very solid foundation. That's what the whole concept was. It's symmetrical, self-repeating. So just that's the whole concept is. So now what you do is start building that within we'll explain you in the next slides. But look at this, and this is and there are, I think, 64 squares here. So you can think of chess. Chess is 64. So that concept with any temples, as you see, that the base, even the minimum, they they talk about we should have a 64 squares. And that's the whole concept is wanted to. So here we'll see the next slides. The on the central thing you see, that is called Brahmapada. That's where the cosmic being, that's where Mula Vigraha, that a Garbhagraha exists there. And actually, believe it or not, this is an interesting concept. I really loved that you're sitting in one place, sitting, that becomes your temple. See, you said in all the languages are there, like your body is a temple. So that becomes temple. I mean, imagine, so your body is, you're putting a square around it and sitting there, and that's a temple. That's the basic temple. That's a Brahmapada. So any temple, if you sit on around, that's why they say, I think probably they talk about put an asana and sit on that. Now become temples. You become now they started meditating. Now you're connecting to cosmic from Sahasrara to all the way to Muladhara Sahasrara. So that's what your temple is. So now the smallest temple in, as I said, is your own temple. You be sitting there. At the most, and this is an interesting thing. I think I was trying to find a relation with the Chamakam, and I think there will be in the last Chamakam there is talk about. I think there is 1, 4, 9, 16. I think it has. I didn't have time to research that. So you see all the squares. You see 1, 2 square, 3 square. That's what we said we need to have. Minimum, they say, any most important design, they say the 64 padas. So smallest temple, as I said, 1 pada. And if you really don't have any space, the 9 pada is maybe the good ones you can have. And all sides Atlantic cardinal directions, you have east, west, that's the standard in all architecture. You have cardinal directions. And the central part is called Garbhagraha, where your Shikhara, and we'll talk about Shikhara and Vimana, that's design. So if you look at your prakaras, within the prakaras 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th most prakara in the kosham, you have the Anandamaya kosham. That place you will have the prakaram. And that's place we have your Brahmapada at Garbhagraha, where your Shikhara and all can go to connect to cosmic from the thing. Next day, the Devika Pada. Basically, there where your our subsidiary deities, all will be around that Brahmapada. And next comes the Manushapada. This is where you perform pradakshina. In the temples, you have some space, you have pradakshina. And the last one is Paishika. This is an interesting concept. Now, I think that's why I probably say you have, if you're beyond that, you don't get anything. Because they have corridors, you have, now have Balipitam, so that, all negative energies stop there. You have to make an attempt not to go to Paishika Pada. And so that's what his whole concept is. You don't go to the, that kind of thoughts, you don't go. Be in your, at least, be inside Manusha Pada. So that's your Pada. And when you go and think about the demonic forces, which are probably they trying to get you. And that's what the whole concept here is. It ultimately is a symbolism, but they brought a structure to the symbolism. So the whole even though it is like the temple is a structure and architecture, but it's a symbol. Also, it is a definite reality. So it's intertwined into so many things in our in Sanatana Dharma. The Vastu Purusha is a basis for complex structure. Is having all geometrical, astronomical, human properties was the basis of ground floor plan. All the Hindu temples, Sanatana Dharma temples, is the normally in the temple outermost, as you see in the Pashachika thing. That's will mainly apparently there will be that will be a wall thickness that it will be, and the central 4 square require a main deity and for subsidiary and main deity. And then 12 squares and the Garbhagraha next 16 to 20 year form, the Pradakshina Pada. The simple divisions of square, this again you'll see, the combination of this, again, complex, there are 1024 squares you'll see. It becomes the most complex temple. Next, please. So again, this repetition of what previous. what has happened here is Brahma, again, different interpretation and thought process on the, so it symbolizes that, Brahmapada, where you have a Garbhagraha. And what you're building is building the cosmos and metaphysical diagram in the foundation. The various supernatural powers captured beneath the temple, whereas the center is source of cosmic energy. And that's what we have Garbhagraha. See, it again repetition. It is a square, and we have 4 cardinal directions. And according to Hindu philosophy, our mundane life is controlled by number 4, 4 castes, 4 stages of life, 4 great books of and Mahayugas, 4 heads of Brahma, and 4 Vedas and 4 directions. That's why, again, one more interpretation of why you have 4 sides. But that makes sense for it's 4 directions. That's the basic thing we can, if you understood. Again, this is again explanation of what Vastupurusan. I think what I wanted to make sure that we get that head that Vastupurusa Mandala is a basis for our temple's construction. So this one thing again, last thing is the interesting. We have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36 number pada, and the Sakala Mandala, Pechaka Mandala, Pita Mandala, Mandala, this Mahapita Mandala, Manduka, Chandika Mandala, and these are the different, they call the names, but I think the most common architecture, I think the way I've read it is 64 squares. So this is interesting. I think we sometimes ask ourselves why you need to have a greater temple, bigger temple. We have granite. Why can't we have just 4 small temple be done with it? The whole concept is if you have more, it's all energy field, energy force. If you have more squares, obviously it is more radiation. There's also radiation. We are all magnetic fields. If you have bigger temple, obviously this amount of energy flow is much higher. That's the whole concept. I just wanted to make sure that we understand. So sometimes we ask ourselves why we are so much struggling to get a bigger temple. Why not very short, small temple be done with it? Now there is a reason for everything. So this is one of the reasons that we probably have. Now this is what interesting concept where I think you can see the first one is show the we will go later. You can see the leftmost Anupamama. So that's you see the all squares by what just for rotating symmetrically how they built a structure. So that's kind of will be Vimanam when you go up. So they make a different formation that becomes a Vimanam. The next thing, the same thing, the different the length of that they made the next one. Again, the same square. So they made a expanding one. So this is how our temples were built. If you look at our oldest temple, which shows pictures later, they had very simple temple, and so this you can see in a stage first. We'll see very simple Sanchi Stup structure. It's not a very simple temple, but it has a definitely 4 sides, and the slightly elevated thing was slightly bigger, slightly elevated structure that becomes second stage. And this is the third stage where we had Gupta and beyond that, after that, the Pallavas, Cholas. And this is the Nagara style. We'll talk about the Nagara and Shikhara, the Nagara style of thing. Look, you see, ultimately, they all based on the same concept from expanding from middle and expanding all the way with the different concentric circles. And if you go back to slide, Amma, you'll just see the same thing there. So starting from simple to next thing to stage 2, stage to stage 4, all are built in the same concept from squares, and you'll see the last one is where I think we come to the layout of the temple. That will be more interesting to discussion. So now that we laid what's the basis of our Sanatana Dharma temples. Now I'll talk about layout of the temple. This is interesting. I think we have our temple also has a layout. And I think if many of you visited, Aya explains that Sahasrara Devi, and she's lying down like a yogi. And you see that we have a slight modified version because we are not really agamas. We are slightly more tantric. We have some leverages there, but it's almost like what you have see here. And the whole basis for how the temple is laid out is from Bodhana Mahanyasa, actually. Deho Devala Prokto, Jivo Deva Sanatana, Tajets Ajnana Nirmalim, Soham Bhavena Pujayet. Basically, simple explanations or body is temple. And the same thing is seen in Tamil literature. Also, I think my favorite is from Basavanna. He said, Ullavaru Shivalaya Madavaru, Nanenu Madali Badavananiya, Dehave Degula. He says, even the whole body is a temple. And he talks about my feet are dwaras of temples. It's almost all languages capture that. And the essence is very simple. Whole temple, you should feel that it's your body. And when you start doing that, and how we are trying to build this new Grand Temple, that probably understood, I think, why it's important for us. Next slide, Sama. So again, this is one explanation. It's a prasadam purusham matva pujayet mantra with maha. So basically, the prasadam is alayam. It's again, we'll just see what alayam means. It's a symbol of Purusha. I think again, it brought that the same concept. Purusha, Vastu Purusha is a Purusha, is in the alayam. And Viman Shikhara is where visible to be treated as a Stula Lingam, a physical form of Shiva, and a form of Sadashiva represented by the Sukshma Lingam, which dwells in the Garbhagraha. Is a different concept. This is from Agamas in what means by a temple and how is the layout to be done. Shastras and Agamas and the different literatures, the poems, poets, and saints and seers have said, temple is a body of Shiva. That's the title. So this is very interesting. I'm not going to read the top one. I'll just explain what it means. See, the Garbhagraha, Sura Proktam, Antaralam, Galam Tatha. I mean, basically what he's saying is, Garbhagraha is the main sanctum equated to human head. Antarala, the vestibule, equated to the human neck. Ardha Mandapam, you'll see half hall, half a mandapam. The concept of new temples, I think we'll go through that a little bit, is compared to the human chest. The Maha Mandapam, the main hall, is equated to the stomach, and the flat force is viewed as along with the human male organ, and Gopuram or temple gateway is viewed as human feet. So imagine Shiva, the body of is lying down. Again, next picture, am I there? Yeah, this explains that it's lying. By the way, you'll have the references in the end. You can go and read more. It's from Alayam book, by the way. So it can see that feet is a gopuram. It can, as you come inside, prakaram, and see Nandi, Rajastamam, Balipitam. There is not much real explanation of that. I think probably Aya will have a class on this, explaining what exactly is the significance of each of those. But I think we'll go through a little bit of those. Maha Mandapam is a belly and shoulders, and Garbhagraham is the head, and Antaralam, the vestibule, the connecting from Garbhagraham to Maha Mandapam is actually Antaralam. This is a whole concept of what temple lying, relation with temple plan in human form. So by the way, you can have any questions, you can ask. Again, these are different elevation of the temple and God in lying posture. It's same concept. We are in terms of chakras. So Gopuram is a same feet as head, and Mooladhara, I think I have next slide explained what it means. You can have a glance at it. I think, yeah, is the I heard. The significance of our method of worship, what you should do. So when the person enters the temple, the first thing, I think, the Gopuram is Sulalingam. He should realize the body is Atma, which is non-perishable. Then at Balipitam, symbolizes Bhadralinga, he should sacrifice all your carnal desires, Kama, Krodha, Mara, Matsarya, by doing a Sastang Namaskara. When he gets into look up, then he should get up, look at the Dvajastambha, which is Dhajalinga. As per Mahagama, Balipitam, Dhajalingam represent Mooladhara and Swadhisthana. You look at him, do Namaskara. Then before stepping to Mahamantapa, you should worship Vahana. That's why we have Vahanas there. Take the permission from Vahana. Then go to Garbhagraha. And Vahana is a Pashubhavam and the Manipura Chakra. And next steps within the Anahata, Vishuddhi, Ajna. Eventually, the Vimana Shikhara represents Sasara. That's all the relation between our chakras and the person, the human body lying as a form of a human body. So not just this is again not just entire layout. Even the Gopuram, even the Murtis, when they design, it is done as per as a temple is a body of the deity. Vimanam is, if you can relate to each and the face of Murti, Devi standing, it relates to one part of Vimana and Shikhara in both we'll come to that, the Nagar and style of temple. It relates to, so they have not left anywhere. It is their base. So if you look at even the Vimana, you'll know it is a Devi. And from top down, you can worship Vimanam, you can worship Shikhara, you can worship Gopuram. It's like that is the devotion that bringing into everything what it designed. It is not just inside, just that structure. It is that is the beauty of our science of architecture. So go to next. I think there's too much to digest here. Again, this is again I said, even if you make a small temple, even that temple is a murti. And each and as a Nasika, it's you can see the difference, the parts of Devi relating to the different part of Iman. So when we get the temple, for example, tomorrow they build the temple for we have next year it will come up as Shanmukha and Ganapati temple. The temple will relate to the one of Devi. We can, almost I can guarantee that. So look at the temple itself is the Devi. So the last one of the interesting, again, the temple structures, we had a different prakara. We look at the right side and the slide. That is the, I think from Anna Tiruvannamalai. So, right, you can see the different layers of structure, the buildings, and the is called prakaras. From outermost layer all the way come inside. So, in one more way to look at entire the structure and the layout and building is like in terms of koshas, file sheets. First thing is Annamaya Kosha. As you come from outside and you go around outside the temple, outside the outermost structure of the main temple, you'll see that's where you see people are probably selling some things, they're doing some different activities, and that is one prakara. That's Annamaya. Basically, you are just dwelling into your own things. And as you come inside, also comes Pranama Kosha, where you have Alankara Vahana, Kalyana Mantapa. That's temple is not just one temple. It is like a whole supporting entire village, entire town. So entire activity is held between. So it's like a, you can say whatever you say now, it's business center, what is community center or temple. It is providing support for every activity for a person. We didn't have TV, didn't have anything those days. I mean, it's not that we don't need, I don't know. So that's how they came in. So Annamaya Kosha, and Pranamaya Kosha, then they have, I don't know if you could still go to, they have a Kalana Mantapam and all that. And the big Vahanas, store somewhere outside the Prakara. And third Prakara will come inside into the temple is Manomaya Kosha, Balipitam, Dvajastam, Mahamantapam. Then inside, deep inside, of course, Pradakshina Path is Vijnanamaya Kosham. And the Garbhagraha where your Mula Vigraha correspond to Anandmaya, your blissful state. So there's where you're supposed to, one moment you come in, you get all the suck in, get into your energy of, and become state of blissfulness. That's the whole idea of having a temple. It is not just a structure. It is just to soak yourself with energy of what the deity or the offers to you. That is the whole concept of the temple. Next. So this is just, I wanted to, we want to just give an idea that, we have different styles of temples all around. Called Nagara. So this is the, if you go, again, next slide explains what different areas, until the Mahabharata, Nagara style, they belong to land between Himalayas and Vindhyas in between. And Dravidian style is temple where the land belongs between Krishna and Kaveri rivers. And a Vesara style is where you can say, I don't know if you've seen Hampi, Halebeedu, Beluru, all are Vesara. They're a combination of Dravidian and Nagara and Nagara style of temples. Beautiful temple. I think if you want the beauty in the Harappan, the temple from the Hoysala, Halebeedu, the temples are so, almost every temple you see, them almost they use the lathe machines. So beautifully structured and very designed. You will, I mean, that's an amazing thing about that. But they use both the concept of the Nagara, where you see the style, and they use So Dravidian style, we know that's what we are drilling. Dravidian style is where we're going to have our building in Dravidian style. They have a Shikara, you have, it's called Shikara and Vimana. We call it Vimana, Shikara, and it's a Mantapam and Ardha Mantapam. I think this all is there in our, all concept. If you look at that, there is we have some slides in our temple also. We can see how are we building our structure. So it's all Pallavas and Cholas, and it's you can say it's in one of the most thriving period of Hindu architecture. You'll say most Brihadishwara temple. You can see it's a most one of the most complex build, and even today people are trying to find out how they took that 280 tons of that Shikara, the Kalasham on top of that put on the Vimanam. Is still debatable, different. So that they have done the vast majority of and beautiful structures during that time. And you can see Kailash temple, Kanchipuram, Brihadish temple, Meenakshi temple. All the temples are Dravidian structures, and we are going to have similar structure in our temple. Next, Vesara, I said. The building, this is I think just wanted to make sure we get into ourselves. Is an art, is science, and complicated creative study with a blend of mathematics, logic, geography, geology, science, you name it. Everything is there in this temple architecture. Now they are not left anything. So everybody is involved. Every part of the society is involved. From, you can see, if you go light and sound, you look at there are a few presentations where you talk about the murtis and what they have. It's in light and sound. I think some of the, I don't remember the temple. There is a temple where accurately at the different part of the thing you can see the sun at the different windows. It's amazing they have done. And the main thing is in all the, as I think we also done too, we have selected an architect. The architect is like not just like this person does. He does tapas, japam. He is a sadhaka himself because he has to know all this. So artist, he's an artist. He's a saint. That's the whole thing about the architect. And he brings in because he has to know, because when he creates, even though he may not be is stabadi, he's a shilpi. He's not a shilpi, he's a stabadi. He has to know everything about the temple. And he has to know the Shilpa Shastras. He has to know Agama Shastras. Everything he has to know. If he doesn't know, there's no point in. So I think we're fortunate to have somebody. So good. The initial steps, as usual, is we have to select a site, and it says as we heard our Ayya talking about on this temple, we have a stream running. And north and south, it is like it's a golden, one of the best sites for any temple. Area, rivers, mountains, springs near, and towns is treasure of God. So we have everything what is needed for a temple here. And basically inspection, this has all been done, inspection, insemination, leveling of site, and which measurement. So measurement, mana, you have to take measurements. This is all the need to be done for a temple. And stone selection. This is, I think, Ayya keeps talking about, like, you have a male, God, Ganapati should have a male stone. You have a Devi should have a female stone. If a neutral stone, like Ardhanarishwara. So that's what we should make sure that we get those stones. As I said, based on gender and all that, we have to make sure we get it. And so the stone, again, stone is considered to be the most sacred part of it. Again, it leaves. We have slides on the stones selections also later, I'm sure. So we are here. We've seen why we need temple, what is the purpose of constructing temple, and what is the architecture, basic, not in greater details, but we know that the temple is laid out in a form of a human body, and it is also structured in a form of a human body. You can see the vimana, shikhara, and all the things you can do. Ultimately, when you come inside, devotee comes inside, he has to worship, seeing that. Now, this is one thing wanted to just, okay, fine, we have all that. So why do you need temple? So I wanted to give some background of our temple. It's like when it really gives you, such a great feeling that this temple is not just a temple. You think about it. It's of course it's called, first of all, it's called a Peetham. It's not a temple. Is the empress of emperors. So the Rajarajeswari Devi. So you are into a Peetham, a seat of the emperor, empress of emperors. It's not just a temple. That feeling we should come in yourself. And the presiding deity, we know that Rajarajeshwari is bestowed a grace through many different ways. There are many experiences people have felt, got experienced from her. And it's a living goddess, experiencing hers in experience. If you come inside, walk inside, and sometimes you can talk to her. And we're discussing some of the incidents happened over the past years. She is in experience to experience. So the journey started long time, not just today, it's 50 years ago. And it has gone through various, from Sri Lanka, you must have heard from story from our, facts, not the stories, from Ayya, what happened, Bhadrakali Peetham, from there, all the way, it has moved through Africa, to Zambia, to Africa, to Ontario to Park Circle. Ultimately, she has come here, right? So it's a journey, not just 1 or 2 days. It's 50 years plus journey. Next. The Moolamurti, as I said, roots in subcontinents and moving around places, settled down in Ban. Think about it, Ban. I know it's a great place for her. It's a Ban converted as a temple. I think we have sometimes, probably we have a better place for than her to live rather than big houses. But she's a Ban. Of course, she's a Ban because it is a horses and so that's what, think about. They call her the living goddess, the Rajarajeswari, and they say, look, where are you sitting, Amma? That's the whole. Anyway, let's go to the next. So how we started? So our guru, when he got the Diksha from Paramaguru, Amritanandnatha, the Guru Dakshina was that, he has to spread the mission of knowledge, Vidya, through love and compassion. And that is what is binding here. It is just one is Pitham. Think about it. One is Pitham, one is love and compassion. So it is through this. It has been spreading like fires, wildfire. And I'm not talking about Hawaii fires. I'm just saying the love and compassion, that kind of fire here. This is only temple where, sometimes, people talk of, giving the woman empowerment. We're talking, it's a today's talk. Think about our guru lineage. Look at the pictures. This is not today's. They are doing puja, abhishek, everything there long time. Different nationalities, background, their daily worship, pujas is no less. I don't think, sometimes you think, yes, we have gone beyond that. Only few temples we can come and feel and touch her. Good. See? I just said, when Dal was talking about, empowering mothers and daughters, well, they have it. We have that. So they have equal access to rituals, learning activities, and they're able to perform seva, pujas in the temple. It is testament to our lineage. They have done so much for us. Next. So a human does really need such an institution, where everybody is welcome with compassion. Whoever walks in, there is no, and many times I think as volunteers we feel, but with love we serve Annadanam. Everybody has chance to learn if he has interest. Rituals, learn to Sanatana and learn to be a good citizen. Ultimately, that's what it is. And there is an ardent desire. As I was talking about, we have probably better houses than her. And the ardent desire. I think there was a person came before, I think just Amma, Sri Amma attained, Samadhi. So interesting thing he was talking about. He was so passionate and talking. I think he was disciple of Sri Amma, and he said, "Look, what are you guys doing with her? She is living in a barn, and you've been given an opportunity to be like a Rajaraja Cholan. Like in those days, only kings could build a temple, but now we are able to do that. With ordinary human beings can contribute even at 1 square, 2 square, 3 squares. That's what it talks about, right? So we have the chance to build a temple which is permanent for her, not just like a barn, but she needs a permanent home. It's talk about, I think Ayya is talking about not us today. Think about we are done. When you pass on this whole concept of learning and teaching and taking to equality, all that, how you will take forward. That's true. A permanent structure for her. It's a Dravidian architecture. You can see it's being built back in India. It's been you are saying when you build each and every murti in the even the pillars should be able to see it. I think he talks many shows. Look at this murti. I like to be this murti. And again question comes on, okay, why are we doing granite? And this is from what you can read yourself, why you need granite. And it's the second hardest substance known to mankind. And that is he wrote in Sri Chakra magazine back in 2018. Basically, the idea is to get it to build last for 1,000 years. Okay, let's dwell into granite. This is very interesting, something information I got from. So I always said it's from the whatever you build is from the bowel of the earth. And granite has the capability. It says it's a 30% in almost durable. It's a durable. It's capable of withstanding forces better than any rocks. And granites apparently is there since 2.5 billion years. So it is from the next thing we'll talk about. It is from it's a recycled and recycled, goes back to earth, comes back again. So you have that. If you think about it, you have the stone which is coming from the bowel of the earth, which has that energy. And using that energy to build temples in granite. That's why it's so important, not just hardest rock, I think in my belief, not just hardest rock, but it's coming from the bowel of the earth. And it's easily accessible. It's not, we don't have to go dig deep. It's there. But it has come from after thousands of years. That's the whole idea of this. And according to Silpic tradition, nothing in universe in any way. This is a beautiful concept. Even Pattar ko bhi, they have saas lete hain. Also have the breathe. So this is a beautiful concept I was just reading. Is a living entity. Has a primal energy. Shakti. Shilpi's call is Shakti Paravastu. Literally means ultimate luminous substance. This rock is held as very divine in our tradition. Korma. So in the Panchabhutas, concept Panchabhutas, when you see, I found it very interesting. When you touch it, you feel cold. So it is definitely, it has to be moisture in that. Then only it feel cold. So there is water in that. And when you take two stones together, you can create fire. So it has fire, Agni is there too. And obviously there is a pocket filled with air, and stone added to this has quality of the space. We have a space, so that's why the sound, you can make different sound. Obviously, you know that if you the same sound everywhere, you know that some has more pores, less pores, equal number and space. So we know that it's made of Panchabhutas. It has all the substance in that. So that becomes one of the very unique item substance for building a temple. And it lives longer than you've seen Ayya keeps in this picture I put it because when this picture it says, look at her features. Look at how she is looking at you. And each feature has been polished. It's only front part is polished. Behind is not polished, but he said, when you polish it, it becomes so beautiful looking structure. So there, as I said, three types of stone, male, female, and the neuter. The female, you have to use a male. For the male, you have to male stone, female have female stones, and neuter, you have to be, it has a different resonance. And I think, because you can go back to a temple, they'll say, you hit the stone, it's a different sound. You can really hear the sound. I mean, that makes a difference. And obviously, when you sing any mantras or songs or hymns, bhajans, it will have a different effect on them. So this is, again, I was talking about it comes the deepest bowl of earth. This is very prominent, very unique characteristic of granite. And although it is down, it comes up, goes back again, apparently. And it's magma when it cooled down, that's what it becomes this is the essence of why we need granite. It's from the ball of the earth, it becomes represented Panchabhutas. And other interesting is that it can be molded, even though hard as stone, it can be molded to any shape by the Shilpis. That is, it uses, so you want to, when you start building when you look at, it's an intimacy, the yogic intimacy between Shilpi and the Murti. When they build, if you make a mistake, that's gone, had to be thrown out. Imagine the amount of concentration that the tapas they put into that building the Murti, that itself is enough to have the energy to be placed. That's the whole concept again. Why it's also hard, but it also can be made a shape in the shape. So this is, I put like a summary of why granite is the oldest, is solid, hardest rock. Yet it can be carved, it can be different sound. What does it mean? It can based on different gender, it can produce different effects. It can survive any elements, has the ability to absorb resonant sound energy. This presents greatest quality for its last thousands of years. Yet, this is what we want. We want something, stay there, get absorb energy, but give the to others. Get continuous stream of positive vibrations from pujas, from japams, from great upasakas. You see how many people come here. And in our temple, Sagar Bhaiya has done that, Yantra Pratistapana. And you know, that energy is there. Now imagine that stays for 1,000 years, that is there. Energy is there for all of us to consume. It will be everlasting source of positive energy, for cosmic energy, for all human race, for generations to come. That's the whole concept and the idea. And this is, again, I felt when I go to recently, when you go to these temples, you think, why can't we have these temples? Like a Chidambaram, Meenakshi, Bhadrasham. So our temple will be like one of them. Next. So sculptures, no exact science, Karmamurti, they are present within inside the temple at precise location that could maximize absorption and reflection of Vedic mantras, bhajans, and that were sung. That's what we're doing in our temple too. And I was talking about concept of placement of murti and the four walls, and when the instruction happens, and based on where the murti is, where the chakra intersect, a different effect. He has definite ideas where to place and to maximize the effect for here. The people who come to visit temple, they benefit from the temple for the spiritual journey. They have for their journey, and also as you've seen the beginning that Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Vivekananda was talking about. It is not just taking, also people come, they have plus energies. They also give energy to the temple. So you have getting benefit from them too. It also gives benefit, also provides benefit. So did you ever wonder, as when this again, also kind of, we have an opportunity. Build a temple which is very closer for us to do. And we are already halfway through in terms of the first phase. It'll be, and did you ever realize that this opportunity closer for us? Next, please. Yeah, I think also is when you realize that our temple is built not just for 10, 100, 1,000 years, ask why it's in it for me is very relevant. Question keep asking, what's in it for me? No, it's not. No, it's for everyone. It's not just, I think it is just to understand the concept, why it is we are built. I think it is, the whole question becomes relevant. That's why I think we want to try the point next. Please, next, please. It'll be just in a temple. It's not just for me. It's for ensure our children, grandchildren, next several generation will have something to be proud of us. So when they know, oh yes, they still talk about Rajarajeswari, of course, Sri Temple. So they'll talk about, oh, look at those people they've done for us. That's what they remember. So few slides on what is the state of our Rajagopuram. It's as I said, construct a permanent home. Is a Kashyapa Shilpa Shastra. What we talk about Agama Shastra deal with the temple structure, architecture, layout. Kashyapa Shastra, if I understood, mostly deal with iconic part of it, like that we love to hear from Aya. one of these days of each visit, Shilpa, iconic forms of temple, like the murtis, how the science behind murtis and all that. That's mostly, we are building that, our murtis are building that, and the Agama Shastra we already adopted for our temple in the Dravidian style. The more divine energy, and as explained, we're seen, and it will be not, there is no number of years, as long as elements can, then as you've seen, Ghana temples can stand for a long, long time. Of course, this not us, it's just, go to next, please. This is our, this artist's impression of our temple. Can you go to next? This is a layout. You can see what we've seen in the beginning. You can see that, the square in the beginning, in the Brahma Pada, you can see the similar structure, similar pattern we are using. And the Prakara, you can see outside, inside, and have a Gopurams, east, west, north, south Gopuram, and Vimanam in between. And we have Ganapati Sannidhi, Subramanya Sannidhi, Shivalayam, and various, is all done using Agama Shastras. So what we have done is the first phase, 1 and 2. I believe by next June, July, mostly we'll be done with the first portion of our temple, Ganapati and Ganapati and Subramanya Sannidhi. We'll have, I think we'll start appreciating what it will when we have entire temple using Garbhagraham. So as I was explaining before, this is like, if you think of body of a person lying down, you can see the East Gopuram, that is your legs, padam, feet of, and as you can, the Devi Sannidhi is the head, and rest of all you can map to entire our temple. This is the elevation of, with decorations. And one of the things, each Gopurams will have a murtis, exquisite. You can enjoy them just by watching them. Of course, they have significance, other significance too. Go next. The East Gopuram details. So this is a few of the pictures from the construction site, what has been done. Go ahead. So this is back in India. We are already getting ready to, I think, ship probably this month or next month. They're being shipped. So there are different structures of our, pillars and Ganapati 16. Yeah, that's what it is so far. So I hope it made sense. Entire presentation made sense. The idea was to just try to why we are building this temple. What was of course, started from what is the need to go to temple, why the construction of the temple, how the construction of the temple has been done, what method it uses, Agama Shastras, and how the temple will be layout is done, and different styles of temples, how it's evolved over the time, we're seeing. So it's, as I said, it is not, we have learned past 1 or 2 months, but I think it is a lifelong learning. I think for us, may not be one birth. But Ayya has lived this, and I think now really started appreciating what it means, a temple's means for Ellen. So why is he really passionate about building temple? It's not just a temple structure, it's entire for generations to come. And I don't know, it's not like a marketing. I think it is more of understanding why we need for ourselves. Not to say why we need a temple, no. So hopefully that made sense. And anything to add from Harsha or Anupama?
No, I think what you said is wonderful. Like now, usually the question is why we need this temple, why such a big temple. I think this whole presentation has been very clear as to why we need such a big space. And the bigger the space, the bigger the energy that it could contain and spread. So I think that question is kind of now will not be a question on anybody's mind. And your research on a lot of things, and especially the agamas, and how the structure is, how it is so scientific, like how it is structured and where somebody should do pradakshina, where should be the Moola Murti, and there's so much to it. It's a vast science, and it's very beautifully presented in a. I think it was very, very clear. At least as an audience that I sat and listened. Thank you so much, Aya. I think it was a very wonderful presentation. And I think the question of why we need this temple should not be in anybody's mind anymore after going through this session.
திருக்கோயில் இல்லாத திரியில் ஊரும் திருவெண்ணீர் அணியாத திரியில் ஊரும் பருக்கோடி பத்திமையால் பாடாவூரும் பாங்கினோடு பல தளிகள் இல்லா ஊரும் விருப்போடு வெண்சங்கம் ஊத ஊரும் விதானமும் வெண்கொடியும் இல்லா ஊரும் அருப்போடு மலர் பறித்திட்டு உண்ணா ஊரும் அவையெல்லாம் ஊரல்ல, அவையெல்லாம் அடவி காடே. ஹன ஹனின ஹல ததன ஏ